Hi, and in today's podcast, we talk to Trix Burgess. Trix talks to us about safety, working for the Department of Main Roads, and for working for Morton Bay Regional Council. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Health and Safety Conversations. Here's your host, Tom Bourne.
All right. Hi, welcome. And today, as my guest, I've got Trix Burgess. Trix I've known for a number of years since we worked together in a training organisation. Had the pleasure of working with her for a couple of years, and then I've moved on and she's moved on. So, Trix, I know you, but for those who don't, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your history in safety has been and what you're currently doing now?
Okay. Well, first off, it's good to see you, Tom. I haven't seen you for a while since we parted ways. What have I been doing? So my history in safety is I started in transport and main roads. I was doing admin type roles, and my husband, he was in the safety game, and he said to me, you should do safety. And I'm like, all you safety people are the same. You just want to make rules so that we get all confused. He had a friend that was the manager of the safety unit, and he said, apply for this admin job. So I did. And that was like 2004. So that's 17 years ago. Then I was the safety advisor for our commercial arm in transport and main roads, which is Road Tech. Loved my job, loved the people. And then politics, as it does, has a way of changing or forcing change. So after Campbell Newman came through, sorry, I wasn't supposed to mention any names, was I? But anyway, after Campbell Newman came through, I decided I needed to do something still in safety. So I did a little bit of consulting, and I also then became a trainer. And I did training for about 8 years, I think. And then I decided I need to go back to safety. So I applied for a job at Morton Bay Council. 8 months later, I'm still there.
Excellent. All right. Your time for the Department of Transport on Main Roads.
Oh.
What sort of safety issues did you come across there?
Oh, the commercial arm of transport and main roads used to do all the road maintenance, like putting down the black stuff, putting down the lines and all of those types of things. So there were your normal, in road construction, your normal cars, traffic, all of those types of things. But there was also the human interaction. So there was a lot of, at that particular time, there was a lot of psychosocial risk raising its head, which was not a good space to be in. We also had, with bitumen, hot mix, all of those types of things. Working out in the weather, in Queensland, it does get pretty warm. And when you're pouring bitumen, it's even warmer still. So those are mostly the hazards at transport and main roads.
I have to laugh because I see some people's comments when they see how much, the stop and go operators actually earn in the commercial field, and they go, oh, how easy would that be? You just stand there all day and just flip a sign. And I just go, no. You're literally standing on your feet every day in the weather, and you're dealing with angry people. Let's be honest, they're angry people. No one likes to be held up. No one that I've seen actually budgets time in trip planning around roadworks, and so you've got angry people all the time, people who aren't paying attention, and you're right there with vehicles. It's easy to get hit. So anyone who does that job, I give them a hats off, because it's something I probably wouldn't be prepared to do.
And the easiest thing, to acknowledge for the work that they do is, if you are driving through a roadwork site, just wave out to them. They'll go back. That's that they acknowledge, you've acknowledged them. And you are correct. There was the change in what was then the MUT, the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Try saying that when you had a few, or the MUTCD. they actually brought into place where traffic controllers could only be on shift, and I think it was for 2 hours. Then they have to have a stand down. I think it was a half an hour break. So, you know, but a lot of them never used to take them for whatever reason. So, you know, they are standing out in the weather, getting stuff thrown out of cars. You know, had a guy got hit by a frozen fish, by dirty nappies. You know, it was just terrible.
Yeah. I see with council in particular, when they're doing any roadworks, they employ things, at least these trucks with these collapsible back ends and that. I used to think, how on earth, or why on earth would you need trucks which can withstand impact? And that it seems strange that people would drive into, I don't know, stationary vehicles. Does it happen a lot?
The statistics on rear-end crashes is so that the vehicle you're talking about is called a truck-mounted attenuator, and it is designed to do that. In the time that I was at main transport and main roads, we would have had about 4 or 5 all it is people not paying attention to their surroundings. You know, we've actually they've got cameras on the back of them, so you can actually see the car coming. And we've actually seen a photo of a guy. He was actually asleep at the wheel when he smacked into it. So, you know, the statistics that look at all of that is available on the Main Roads website. But the thing that is really scary is at nighttime, when you're doing nighttime works, the increase of the risk goes up, it doubles. But the best control method we have, you know, people, they wear blue uniforms and they have these red and blue lights on top of their vehicles, and as soon as they flick them on, everybody does the speed limit. And it's quite a good thing. However, is unfortunately policemen have a job to do as well, so you know we can only get them on certain occasions. And
I believe they're not very cheap when they're doing that sort of role as well.
Well, yeah, and you know, there is like at Morton Bay Morton Bay Regional Council, not a city council yet, regional council, they don't employ policemen to do that or put them on a special. And I'm questioning it and going, why? Because I've already had a high-speed chase through one of the roadworks that happened that night.
Speaking of Morton Bay Regional Council, one of the fastest, I believe it is the fastest growing council in terms of population in Queensland.
Yes.
And fairly young demographic compared to other places. Maybe not as young as Logan, but it's fairly young in demographic. And literally, if you build houses, people will move there. That's how popular it was. I was in there a few years ago. Lovely place called North Lakes. What sort of hazards and safety issues have you found working with Morton Bay Regional Council?
So the area I look after is roads and drains. So these are the people on the roads, and there's also the people looking after our drainage network. And I also have fleet. So fleet are our mechanics. So they get all the plants, they maintain the plants and all of those types of things. With any public service, and I should have probably explained this a little bit better, but with any public service, your biggest hazard are the people that you're serving. So we're talking our ratepayers. And when I was with Main Roads, it was our taxpayers. So we, you know, the amount of incidents that we get around interaction with clients, and it's not always good. So like during, you know, your typical week, your 5-day week, you would have at least 15 to 20 not very good interactions between council workers and ratepayers. Those would be our biggest hazards, along with traffic and you know, waterways as well. So we look after, you know, anything that's sort of in the water but sort of close to the shore. That's where our guys will go and retrieve it and stuff like that. So council is a diverse workplace, really diverse.
Enjoying it?
I'm totally enjoying it. Totally enjoying it.
Bit of a change from the old training game.
Yeah, well, I heard, and the reason I went back to safety was because I heard somebody say, those that can't train, and that really annoyed me. And I'm like, right, that's it. I'm training, and I'm going to go back out to the field.
Those who can't do train, and I'm like,
yeah, that's it.
That's maybe not the case.
Not the case.
But drains vitally important. Especially around anywhere from about December to February in that part of the world.
Yep.
I know a lot of the issues in Brisbane in our major sort of flooding events could have been perhaps slightly lessened if the drains were maintained and kept clear. Constant job for you guys?
Yeah. It is. However, is that because of the way the infrastructure is structured, we can only look after so many drains. The rest of it is held by Unity Water. So there's that whole interaction between Unity Water and council, and also, Transport and Main Roads and council, and all of these types of things. But the drainage infrastructure, it does need a lot of work. The hazards that come with that, though, is asbestos, because there is a lot of drainage that's still got asbestos in it.
Absolutely. You talked about dealing with the public and client interactions. Did a bit of work for Brisbane City Council. I don't think people really understand how much angst and grief people who are on the front line and deal with the public actually get. Many psychosocial issues come out of these interactions with ratepayers. Yes,
they're not only with the ratepayers, but it also seems to be that with the whole psychosocial hazards, and now that's a thing in terms of the law. People are still trying to wrap their head around it, and especially at the management level. On the grounds, as a safety business partner, I already knew this was happening. And it was simply because as a trainer, you have to maintain your currency, so you have to do research. Now, the processes that we have in place, and especially for, our library staff, they get hammered by, not physically hammered, but they get abused by people. Our people that are at the weighbridge at the dumps, they get abused. Cars will just try and get under the boom gate and all of that sort of stuff. So having the management or the executive leadership team, come on board and say, okay, safety, we need you to work with the HR people so that we can collaborate and start looking at how we are going to, put control measures in. How are we going to write procedures and processes around psychosocial risk and all of those types of things? It's been quite an interesting journey.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're managing those issues, or is it still the case that, with my experience with most psychosocial issues, is that very few people will put their hands up and admit they're struggling with issues? They're the ones who actually just quietly resign and leave because they just can't take it any longer. The examples that I've seen in council, and this is where I take my hat off to council, is that they have a dedicated wellbeing team, and that's what they look after. Other psychosocial incidents that happen, but they also team with the HR people. Now we are still, because we are like the field staff are mainly men, and they're mainly men over a certain age, we are still trying to get that it's okay for you to talk to somebody about what you're going through message out there, and it's slowly changing. It's a slow process though. Yeah. In regards to the library staff, I can imagine some of the issues that may come up there because they are so exposed, and and I'll be quite honest, some of the areas in Morton Bay Council are very low socioeconomic.
Yep.
And so people tend to rely on library services a bit more than they would in other areas, perhaps. any possible solutions for our poor old library staff?
In terms of interaction, there's interaction with other like other agencies. So, getting security. Can you still hear me, Tom?
I can hear you. I just
yeah.
can't see you.
Oh, that's okay. It's because my video's giving it. Oh, hang on. Oh, that's okay. You remember what I look like. So, I don't believe that having security staff, arming our libraries with security staff is the answer. But getting our librarians and giving them the training to be able to not only handle the not be afraid to do a little, I would love to say let's take them to self-defense classes where they can, defend themselves, but unfortunately we can't. So, what can we do for our library staff? More security, yeah, but more assertiveness training too, as well. I believe, and also making sure that they have, like if you've just been confronted by a customer, go for a walk. Those simple things that we can do to help them get back into the headspace that they need to be into.
Excellent. And I understand you're doing a bit of study at the moment. What's that about? Yeah,
54 years of age and decided to give uni a crack. It's like, oh, really? Shouldn't you be retiring or something? Okay, so at the moment, I just thought I'd ease into an associate degree of OH&S, so not a full-on degree, but the associate degree. And why am I doing that? I've got a mind that needs to be kept active. So when I wasn't studying, I was finding that I was getting really bored, and I was just doing lots of Facebook and all of those types of things. And it was also a good opportunity to see what else was out there in terms of research, and like this is how I discovered safety differently, who's driving safety differently, what is safety differently, and all of those types of things. It's also a good opportunity for me to start doing more academic writing, which I was really horrible at. Still not that good, but it's a learning process. And at the moment, the topics we've covered, or I've covered in my degree, socio-technical design, which is all around how humans and machines and all of that interact with each other and the social mismatches. At the moment, I'm doing investigation, introduction to investigation, and this is not CSI. And that's what our tutors tell us. So, we've covered evidence, how to log evidence. Next week, we're covering photography and all of that sort of stuff. So it's just probably expanding my horizons more than anything else.
Good. Who are you studying with?
I'm studying with Central Queensland University.
Excellent. Recommend them?
I do. I really do. I started I used to call it baby uni. So those of us that didn't go to uni ever, there was a course that you could do, and they would step you through what does academia mean, how do you write something. It was just excellent course.
All right. Couple of questions. I'll ask you about investigation, a little bit about investigation. Just a couple of questions I have. All right. I know you're familiar with the 5, or sometimes called 6 whys.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of that or not?
I'm not a fan of anything that is linear. So your 5 whys can be very linear. It will just take you to one point. And the thing with 5 whys is your first why has to be the right why.
Exactly right. Because everything else falls under it. You ask the wrong question at the start, and to me, it's almost like leading questions.
Yes.
That first question you have, you're already deciding basically what the outcome probably is down the bottom. Look, it's a great idea. And I used to work with a former Queensland detective, and he said, to find out the truth, you just keep asking why. But the five or sometimes 6 whys that's used in health and safety investigation, to me, it's really open to personal bias. And to me, it's almost like we're trying to point the finger at a particular individual when we get down to the last why. Or alternatively, you can always come down to the last why and say, oh, it's a safety culture on the site. I mean, that's a throwaway line.
Yes.
But you can always end up there.
Yes, most definitely. Also, you may not even get to 5 whys. You might only get to 3 at the stage of your investigations, because you can't answer the next why, because you've got to go away and find the evidence.
It's true.
So the one thing I've learned, and I'm just going to use this analogy that I picked up from uni. Investigation is, when you're an investigator, it's like you're in a tunnel, and you're looking towards the end. Now, what's happening is, on the outside of the tunnel, there's all of these things influencing how that person was working, and you can't see that. And it was just so interesting, when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, that's right too. You are in a tunnel, and you're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So you've got to get rid of your conscious bias, which is hard to do as an investigator.
True. You talked about safety differently. I've got to tell you, I'm a big fan of it myself. The light bulb moment for me was when I had a very senior safety professional just come out with a few words, and that is, all humans make mistakes. And I was like, well, that's true. There's none of us who've never made a mistake. There's none of us who've never been distracted. And people do make mistakes. So the old story of trying to desperately turn humans into robots so that we don't make mistakes, it will never work. It will never work. To me, it's more about building systems that are resilient when mistakes are actually made. But I don't know, that's just me. I tend to believe that the systems we have should allow for mistakes to occur, not be encouraged, but allow for them to occur, and maybe the outcome isn't a death or a serious injury from that mistake instead.
Yeah, the light bulb moment for me with safety differently was the work as imagined versus work as done. I'd never heard that before, and also, how do you, why is it that when we ask, what makes a good marriage, we look at divorce statistics? That doesn't tell us anything. But probably the most interesting thing about, safety differently is that it's not saying get rid of your systems altogether. It's saying, how about you have a different look at how your systems are working? Where are you getting your information from? Are you getting your information from your procedure that was written by somebody who had no clue about what was going on out there? Versus take your procedure, go out and run it up against what the people are doing out in the field.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. All right, Trix, I think that's about all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for coming on board and sharing some of your time. It's been really enjoyable to catch up with you again, and I will speak to you again soon.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Thanks for listening to Health and Safety Conversations with Tom Bourne. Until next time, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your week.